Okay, let's dive right in. Picture this. It's July 4th, Daytona International Speedway, NASCAR race. The air is thick, with that mix of heat, exhaust, high tension.
Absolutely. Presidential level security everywhere.
And right in the middle of it, pressed up against the presidential limo, is this young aide, Wes Holloway. He's the president's body person.
And in just a few moments, everything changes for him. A bullet hits, not the president, but it rips through Wes's own face.
That moment, yeah.
Yeah.
It happened 8 years before our main story kicks off, but it's the anchor for everything, isn't it?
It really is. We've got these incredibly detailed notes here, and they map out this story of a massive political cover-up, some really deep personal trauma for Wes, and this frankly unbelievable conspiracy running for years inside the White House.
So our mission today is to follow Wes Holloway's journey. He's carrying this immense guilt, believing he's responsible for the death of another staffer, Ron Boyle, in that same incident.
And we can't overstate the physical cost. That bullet.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a graze. It caused severe nerve damage, left him with permanent partial facial paralysis.
Right. The notes describe it so vividly. When he tries to smile, the left side of his mouth lifts, but the right side is just flat, dead on his face.
An 8-year visual reminder of what he thinks was his fault.
Let's rewind to that day, the actual shooting. It wasn't random, was it, Wes?
Yeah.
Wes actually admits he put Ron Boyle in that limo.
Yeah, it sounds petty, like office politics gone horribly wrong. He thought Boyle was a cocky bastard and wanted to give him a little taste of the VIP treatment before, shoving him off somewhere else.
Just a moment of spite.
A moment that becomes the pivot for this entire decade-long drama. Then the motorcade's moving, noise, heat, and suddenly pop, pop.
Pop. Gunshots. Chaos. The detail leader yelling, "Shots fired!" And Boyle collapses. He's rushed away, presumed dead.
But years later, Wes starts digging, trying to process his guilt, and things just don't add up about Boyle's supposed death.
Okay, so what were the first signs this was? Faked.
Several things seemed off in retrospect. First, Boyle's behavior in the limo before the shots. Wes remembers him being weirdly quiet, kind of hunched over.
Hunched.
Yeah, and crucially, quickly covering his chest right after the shots. Later, the thinking is he was probably hiding a bulletproof vest, not the reaction of someone fatally wounded.
Okay, that's strange. And then there's the ambulance ride.
Right. Halifax Medical Center was, only a mile and a half away? Super close.
Should have taken minutes.
But it took 12 minutes. A ridiculously long time for that distance, especially in a presidential emergency.
Screams coordination, doesn't it? Like they needed time.
Exactly. The sources confirm it. They needed time to manage the scene inside the ambulance, maybe administer fake blood evidence, get the story straight. The whole death narrative was basically constructed en route to the hospital.
So, flash forward 8 years. Wes has moved on, sort of.
He's working for the now former president in Kuala Lumpur.
And then he sees him, a man who is, without a doubt, Ron Boyle, alive. Imagine that moment. The foundation of your guilt, your trauma, for 8 years, just gone, replaced by this huge, terrifying question.
And the alias Boyle is using, this is where it gets really almost surreal, he's going by Carl Stewart.
Carl Stewart. Why does that name matter?
Because Carl Stewart was the president's own old White House code name. Super sensitive, used for security.
Wait, the president's personal code name? What does that imply?
It's wild, right? Either Boyle still had incredible access, or he was maybe deliberately taunting the president, sending a message.
That wasn't his only alias, was it? There's another one.
Yeah, Wes found out Boyle had also requested files from the presidential library using the name Eric Weiss.
Eric Weiss. And the address.
It was a mailing address in Valencia, Spain. It bounced, but significantly, the FBI later confirmed they had spotted Boyle in Valencia.
So he wasn't exactly hiding under a rock. He was out there interacting, almost daring discovery.
Which is when the official powers, or rather the architects of the lie, step back into the picture.
Right. These two federal agents show up, O'Shea from the FBI and Micah, a CIA guy.
And they confront Wes. But here's the thing. They don't really deny the conspiracy. They basically confirm Wes's fears are true. They accuse him of being blindly devoted and flat out state they knew Boyle's death was a lie all along.
Wow. So these agents, they're part of it?
They're 2/3 of it. This leads us right to the core group behind the whole thing. The three.
The three.
O'Shea, the FBI legate, Micah, the CIA case officer, and the third, Agent Roland Egan of the Secret Service. His nickname says it all. The Roman.
The Roman. Okay, and these weren't like low-level guys.
Not at all. High-ranking agents,
Yeah.
specialists in, get this, information warfare. They use their positions, their access within the system to run this entire operation completely off the books.
Using the badge to fake an assassination attempt. That's
Yeah.
bold.
Yeah.
How did they get someone to actually pull the trigger, though?
They found the perfect instrument, a man named Nico Hadrian. He was institutionalized at St. Elizabeth's Hospital.
Okay, so vulnerable.
Deeply. The sources say he had profound psychological issues mixed with this incredibly intense religious fervor. The three exploited that. They twisted his faith, convinced him the assassination attempt was God's will, that he needed to close the devil's door.
Just pure manipulation. So why? Why would these powerful agents orchestrate all this? What was the end game?
Simple answer, greed. Pure, old-fashioned greed.
It wasn't political or ideological.
Nope. They were playing a long con with intelligence tips. They'd feed genuine, smaller bits of intel, maybe VX gas locations, terrorist training camps, stuff like that, to build up credibility.
To make themselves look indispensable, reliable.
Exactly. All building towards one massive shock and awe tip. They codenamed it Blackbird.
Blackbird, and this was their golden ticket.
That was the plan. A huge intelligence payout. Reward money. The kind of thing that, crucially, needed top-level White House approval to be paid out.
How much are we talking?
Millions. The Roman alone was apparently expecting something like $6 million for his role in delivering Blackbird. The stakes were enormous for them personally.
Okay, so that's why they went after Boyle. It connects back to Blackbird.
It does. The sources indicate that the Blackbird tip got shot down, denied, likely in a high-level national security briefing. And the implication is that Boyle, or perhaps someone he worked with, flagged it as suspicious, maybe exposed it as a self-serving fabrication by the three.
So Boyle stood in the way of their $6 million payday.
Precisely. And remember, Boyle wasn't some outsider. His personnel file eventually confirmed he had code word clearance. He was vetted by the FBI, by the Secret Service. He was inside. He was a direct threat to their scheme from within the system.
Okay, so the three targeted Boyle because he was blocking their payout. But here's where it gets even stranger. The president and his chief of staff, they weren't entirely in the dark about potential internal issues, were they? They had their own system.
Yeah, this discovery is maybe the most mind-bending part. Wes and his allies find this list. 8 senior staff members, including Boyle and even Wes's predecessor.
A list. Okay, hidden where? In some classified file.
No, hidden in plain sight. Scribbled onto a Washington Post crossword puzzle.
A crossword puzzle? Seriously?
Seriously, think about it. Who archives a random newspaper crossword as a sensitive document? It's kind of brilliant in a terrifying way.
But it wasn't just names, right? There were markings. It was coded.
Exactly. It was a secret loyalty rating system. They used a method based on the Lewis and Clark cryptogram, from the explorers, an old cipher.
Lewis and Clark. Okay,
Right.
So how did this code work? What did it show?
It was pretty clear once deciphered, a 0 symbol meant the absolute inner circle, total loyalty, like the chief of staff, for example.
Ian Boyle, what was his rating?
He, along with Wes's predecessor, got 4 dots. And in this code, 4 dots meant untrustworthy, a potential political enemy, someone to watch.
So wait, the president already viewed Boyle as untrustworthy before the shooting.
Seems that way. They were keeping tabs on it.
Okay, but then, why did the three need to fake his death? If he was already seen as a problem, why wouldn't the president just, sideline him? Why the elaborate setup?
And that is the central horrifying twist. The truth comes out, not from digging through files, but directly from the First Lady, Dr. Lenore Manning.
First Lady knew.
She reveals that Boyle wasn't shot because he was an enemy of the three. He was shot because he refused to become the fourth.
The fourth, they tried to recruit him.
They did. Apparently, they tried to blackmail him into joining their little conspiracy, using some dirt they claimed to have, something about an illegitimate child.
And Boyle said no.
He refused. And by refusing, he became their biggest liability. They couldn't risk him exposing them or the blackmail attempt.
But the implication then? If the Mannings knew Boyle was being targeted or at least pressured.
The awful truth is, yes. The First Lady confirms they knew Boyle was in danger from the three. They were essentially monitoring Boyle, hoping to catch the three in the act. They used him.
They used their friend as bait.
Bait. To expose a dangerous internal conspiracy, yes. But they risked his life to do it, hoping he'd somehow survive the attempt they knew might come.
That's chilling. The lengths they'd go to protect the presidency, the legacy. But the betrayals didn't even stop there, did they? There's one more layer.
The final devastating layer, the First Lady. she became the fourth.
She joined them after everything.
She allied herself with the Roman, with Agent Egan. Why? To protect her husband's reputation, absolutely. But also, maybe more immediately, to silence Wes Holloway, who is getting way too close to uncovering the whole story, the conspiracy, the bait, maybe even her own involvement later on.
So the First Lady orchestrates the final act, the endgame. How does she lure Wes in?
She plays on his deepest wound, his guilt over Boyle. She leaves a handwritten note on Wes's car, signed with Boyle's name.
Using Boyle's name.
Telling him to meet at Woodlawn Cemetery. At Boyle's, empty gravesite, the place symbolizing Wes's 8 years of guilt. It was a trap, using his own trauma against him.
In the cemetery, it just descends into chaos, doesn't it?
Complete chaos. Wes gets there, finds the First Lady and the Roman waiting, but then Nico Hadrian shows up.
The original shooter.
He'd escaped St. Elizabeth's, still driven by his warped religious mission.
Right.
He arrives seemingly to deliver a final judgment. He shoots the First Lady, kills her right there in the Suburban.
My God.
And then he goes after the Roman. Doesn't kill him, but inflicts these bizarre symbolic wounds, pierces his left hand and foot, like stigmata, a final horrific signature of his delusion.
Just absolute carnage.
Yeah.
But amid all that, Wes finally comes face-to-face with Boyle. Boyle survived this final attack.
He did. The Roman and the First Lady clearly planned to eliminate him too, but Boyle survived. And in that graveyard, surrounded by violence and betrayal, Wes finally gets to say what he's held onto for 8 years.
Apology?
Yeah. He just says it. Ron, I'm sorry for putting you in a limo that day. All that guilt, finally spoken.
And Boyle?
Boyle accepts it, tells Wes straight up, it wasn't your fault. He lets him off the hook. Confirms that the conspiracy, the events, they were way bigger than Wes's small act of spite that day.
And that moment, that release, it changes how Wes sees himself, right? Even his injury.
Exactly. He catches his reflection, sees that same crooked, broken smile that only lifts one cheek. But the source says, for the first time, it feels like it's plenty.
Wow. The physical scar is still there, but the emotional one finally starts to heal.
Yeah. It took navigating years of trauma, conspiracy, intelligence games, all stemming from that one moment at Daytona. And the biggest secrets weren't locked away. They were hidden on a newspaper crossword.
Which leaves us, and you listening, with a pretty stark thought, doesn't it? If a president and first lady, people sworn to lead and protect, could justify using a close friend as bait, risking their loyal aide's life, all to manage threats and protect a political legacy.
What does that say about the true cost of that kind of power, especially on the people closest to it, the ones who serve?
And maybe more unsettling. How many other significant truths, big or small, might be hidden right now, disguised as something totally ordinary, just waiting for someone to find the key?